The second he said those words, the whole room fell silent. It felt as if even the air itself sensed that something was about to break. My boss leaned back in his chair, wearing a smug grin, completely unaware that he had just crossed a boundary he could never uncross. It was meant to be an ordinary corporate dinner: soft lights, polished glasses, forced laughter, the same performance as always. I sat beside my wife, Alina, whose elegance had caught attention the instant we entered. She wasn't simply beautiful. She carried a quiet confidence that made people pay attention whenever she spoke. I felt proud having her beside me. Then there was Victor Hale, my boss. Arrogant, outspoken, the kind of man who believed power gave him permission to say whatever he wanted without consequences. He had been drinking more than normal that evening. His tie was loose, and his voice became louder after every glass. Halfway through dinner, his eyes settled on Alina. I noticed immediately. The way he looked her over made it seem like she was something to possess, not a person deserving respect. My jaw tightened, but I remained silent. I had worked far too hard for my position to create a scene because of a look. But then he leaned forward across the table, completely disregarding me. "So, Alina," he said with a crooked grin, "are you single?" For a moment, I wondered if I had heard him correctly. My fingers tightened beneath the table, my nails pressing into my palm. Around us, conversations stopped in the middle of sentences. Everyone had heard him. He had just asked my wife whether she was single, while I was sitting right beside her. I looked toward Alina, uncertain what she would do. Part of me worried she might laugh it off just to prevent tension. Another part of me hoped, no, desperately needed her to shut him down. She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she quietly set down her fork, touched her lips with a napkin, and slowly turned until she was facing him completely. The confidence in her eyes hadn't disappeared. If anything, it had become even sharper. Then she smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It wasn't nervous either. It was the kind of smile that made people uncomfortable without understanding the reason. "Single?" she repeated quietly. Victor laughed, obviously pleased with the attention. "Yeah, available." And that was the moment everything changed. Alina leaned slightly forward, not flirtatiously, but with purpose. Her voice remained calm and loud enough for everyone at the table to hear. "I'm not single," she said. "I'm married to the man you keep underestimating." Her words landed harder than any slap. Victor's smile immediately disappeared, but she wasn't finished. "And the fact that you felt comfortable asking me that while he was sitting right here." She glanced at me for a second, her eyes filled with something fierce, "says far more about your character than it ever could about my marriage." The change in the room was instant. The same people who had laughed at his jokes moments earlier were now avoiding his eyes. Victor attempted to recover, giving an uncomfortable laugh. "Hey, I was only joking." "No," Alina interrupted, still calm but completely firm. "You weren't, and even if you were, it wasn't funny." Silence. Complete, heavy silence. For the first time since I'd known him, Victor Hale looked insignificant. Dinner ended soon after, but the real consequences arrived the following morning. I entered the office expecting whispers. What I didn't expect was a meeting request from upper management sitting in my inbox. Apparently, not everyone at that table was prepared to act like nothing had happened. Someone had reported the incident word for word. Victor wasn't fired. He received something worse, a public demotion. The same man who once commanded every room now avoided looking at anyone in the hallway. His authority? Gone. His reputation? Damaged beyond repair. And me? For the first time, people didn't simply see me as Victor's employee. They saw me as someone who had earned respect, and as someone who had a woman beside him who would never allow that respect to be taken away. That night changed everything, not because of what he said, but because of how she responded. Before you leave, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps me grow and continue bringing you more powerful, emotional, and real-life stories like this. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload, and tell me in the comments what would you have done in this situation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.